Hey, what's going on, guys? This is your boy C. Will back to you with another video. And look at what we have here. I know y'all been waiting on this video because the video has been waiting on me. But this is the Vertex GX 1200. Yeah, we got another power supply. And the reason why is because we have the 14900K, the beast. And we know that this thing sucks up a lot of energy. And so, of course, you can't see it right now, but I have the RTX 4090 in the system back there. But that gets up to 600 watts. This right here gets up to like 350 watts. And yeah, just right off the bat, I mean, what? That's like 950 watts. And so, yeah, we're going to be testing out some overclocking today. And shout out to Seasonic for supplying the actual power supply. I think they love me, y'all. But yeah, they're helping out the boy. They're helping out the channel. If you want to help out the channel even more, make sure that you hit the links down in the description below. That helps out the channel. Buy everything that you could possibly buy and what you want. We get a little small kickback from Amazon on that, but definitely hit the links down in the description below. And if you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe so we can tell YouTube that you actually really like your boy. Let's get started. Okay, guys, so taking a look at what we have here. I got this open. Currently, I have the GX 1000. Of course, this is the 80 Plus Gold. This is inside the Intel build. Got the 14900K RTX 4090 Founders Edition here. Now, I've been doing some research and I am going to go with my better judgment and just go ahead and actually replace all the cables because we are going to be using the Vertex GX 1200. And so, yeah, we're getting an extra 200 watts. And again, we're going to be using that because we're going to be doing some overclocking. So, yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to just swap out all of my PSU cables just to be on the safe side. 1200 watts is different from 1000 watts, but also because this is a different model as well. And so Vertex versus the actual Focus, two different models, and I'm not going to go into the difference in between what's the same, what's not. Just to be on the safe side, if you follow this video, change out the cables. So we got the 16 pin, the two 8 pins for the CPU, the 24 pin connector. Then on the back, we have just a couple more, not a lot, just a couple more connectors. And so, yeah, we're going to get that switched out. But before we do, let me open this up and see what's in the box. Of course, you know, we got the booklets and all that different type of stuff. We have screws, and then we have zip ties and all that good stuff. And we have the power cable for the 1200 watts. The bag, you know, I like to call this the bag. We got the bag. We have all the cables, and trust me, the actual cables, they look the same. They're braided. These are phenomenal. But yeah, we're gonna use all new cables. We're gonna play on the safe side of things. We're gonna use all new cables, and then the actual power supply, and it looks like it's about the same as the 1000 watt, but except this is the Vertex version. And of course, on the back here, it's fully modular. And so motherboard, PCIe, 16 pin, 12 volt power for the Nvidia cards. And yeah, we got what we need. Let's get the actual cable swapped out. Let's get this installed, and we'll check out some overclocking and some gaming. All right, guys, so as you can see, this is the Intel Extreme Tuning Utility. So I'm going to explain a couple of things as we go forward. So we are definitely going to check out some overclocking and some games, but also I'll go into some details about my hardware. So inside the Intel Overclocking Utility, the Extreme Utility, as you can see, got a total of 48 gigabytes of RAM, 7200 mega transfers. There's 24 gigabyte sticks. Those are at, yeah, 7200 mega transfers. I also have that RAM tuned, and I'll go into my BIOS a little bit later so you can see those. Of course, we got the 14900K and all that good stuff. Down here at the bottom, it pretty much shows like the current CPU utilization. It also goes into detail about the actual temp, what the maximum boost frequency is. And right now I have this on stock settings, but we're going to definitely, I'm not going to show you how to overclock today. This is not the reason for this video, but this is the video because there's been a lot of talk going on about 14900K and crashing with different games, software. So we're going to check out Cinebench. And also here, it just talks about Unreal Engine games and stuff like that. So we'll check out like Fortnite. A couple of the games. I haven't had any issues with my system, but that's not to say that you may not have any issues. But right now, we got MSI Afterburner. So for the 4090, because of course we'll be checking out a couple of those things today. But then we have hardware info. And as you can see here, the first column is what we're currently at, the minimum, maximum, then average. Core VIDs, it's maxing out 1.5. This is actually the settings that I have inside on the Asus board. Is actually, I'm using MCE, and I know it's a whole lot of controversy that's going on behind that, but I have it limited to 90 degrees. So we'll check that out a little bit later. But as you can see, yeah, we're kind of maxing out at 6 gigahertz on some of the cores. Mostly everything else is 5.7, and then on the E cores is 4.4. And then down here at the bottom, you could definitely be able to see the power. And so PL1, you know, we got the max power, but with the limits that I have in place for the temp, you'll see exactly what that's going to max out to. So first things first, we're just going to let Cinebench run for a hot second, just so you can see what the power goes up to with the current settings that I have in place. And then we'll see what that looks like with the overclocking. We have Cinebench running. If we go over here, CPU package power, and also the core power. So if you look at those, it's pretty much kind of maxing out 283. But really the peak is about 300 watts. And while doing that, the actual current boost clock is about 5 gigahertz, 5.1 gigahertz on the actual performance cores, and about 4.1 gigahertz on the E cores. And currently we're sitting around 1.2 volts. The temps is maxing out 91, 92 degrees. And that is, it would be a lot higher if I didn't choose the actual option to limit the actual temperature to 90 degrees in the BIOS. And the actual power limit would go up to like 300 and something. But I don't have any issues with my chip with running Cinebench. You know, just basically having an all-core workload. I think the highest score that I received based off of some of the overclocking settings was the 39,282. So right now, this is just Cinebench running. Something that I also like to do is open up OCCT 3D standard. I am going to, here today, so I'm just going to hit start. And so what I'm doing, I'm actually showing you what it looks like to have full use of the GPU. And this is without the actual overclocking. So full use of the GPU and full use of the CPU, both going at the same time. Even on my power for the 4090, it's not maxed out. I got the power limit at 100%. And so currently across the top here, as you can see, we're maxing out at 91 for the 14900K, about 280 watts, 100% usage. And then on the actual GPU itself, it's 100% maxed out and using 447 watts, 450, which is basically what it does at stock levels for the 4090 Founders Edition. So 450 plus about 275, 280 is 725 watts. And so out of the 1200 watts minus 725, we leave 475 watts on the table. But if you saw any of my power supply videos, you would know that the power supply from an efficiency level, usually it maxes out between 80 to 90%. So let's go on the low end. So 1200 times 0.80 is 960 watts. So from an efficiency level, we're definitely within spec, but it could be anywhere between 80 to 90% efficiency level, depending on the actual power supply. So if we was looking at 90% efficiency, so it's 1200 times 0.90, so that'd be a little bit over 1,000 watts on a 90% efficiency level. Let's stop. Well, we can actually Yeah, well, no, I might be able to do this while everything is running in the background. I think we still have, yep, we still got 4 minutes on here. And so what I am going to do is actually raise up the power level on the GPU, type in overclock 250 on the core clock and 1,000 on the memory. Now, again, I'm not teaching you how to overclock. This is something I just know that works with my card. If you want to see me do actual video on how to overclock, definitely make sure that you put it down in the comments below, and we'll definitely look into that. Now, the GPU, since we made that small change, look at the actual wattage. So we went from 450 watts. Now we're pretty much maxing out at almost 600 watts. It's probably going to jump around, but that's significantly more power. And also the temp on the GPU is going up, which is actually 86 degrees is actually still pretty good for 100% on the actual finals edition. But also, too, and normally what I do here is I actually go in here and change the actual the fan speed when I'm doing these as well. And so that allows the actual fan to go up to actually bring down the actual temp. Now, going back, another thing that I need to do here is up under Leon Lee, I am going to change the actual fan speed to full. It's on high speed, but I'm going to change it to full. Then that way we'll get full fan speed on the actual AIO. So we're doing that now. I am going to go, and hopefully this doesn't crash while I'm doing this because it's kind of crazy. But with the AI assist, it allows you to be able to select and build a profile and have an OC profile. And I'm doing this in the middle of, normally I wouldn't do stuff like this, but we're just testing stuff out. So we got about 2 minutes left on using full use of the actual CPU. But as you can see down here, a couple of things has actually kind of changed, and I applied the profile. So if we go back over here to hardware info, now you can see the actual boost clock has gone up from 5 gigahertz to 5.2. So it added my profile, but I also want to show here OCCT is still maxed out at 90 degrees, and we're at 256 watts. So even with applying that actual change, we're still up. So what, 566 watts plus 259, 820 watts, 828 watts. So with the profile that I have, you're looking at the actual the amount of voltage that's being used with everything being maxed out. And you probably ask yourself, would I ever be in a situation where the actual CPU and the GPU will be maxed out like this? That depends on the game. If you're playing 4K, you could be able to max out the actual GPU. If you're doing some overclocking, and if you happen to run into a shader compilation, you could definitely, for a brief period of time, be able to hit power limits that's like this within a game. And I'm not sure if I could be able to replicate that because it depends on the game, but we will check out a couple of games where that's potentially possible. All right, guys, so we are in the BIOS, and so what we're going to do is after this, we'll definitely take a look at a couple of games here. But as you can see, we got the SUSE board. This is the Rod Strix Z790E Gaming Wi-Fi 2. Incredible board. If you watch my Intel build, you would know that along the way, the MSI board that I originally used, copped out on me. So made a decision that if you buy cheap, you buy twice. And so get what you need from the get-go. But as you can see, like the target CPU, frequency is 6 gigs, for the E-cores is 4400, target DRAM 7200. I'm just going to show you just some of my settings that we have here. So if I upgraded to the latest BIOS, and as you can see, for all of my people who have an ASUS board, and I also think Gigabyte, you could choose to use the Intel baseline profile if you're having issues, with your chip when it comes to the 14900K or the 1400 series with the overvolting and overpower usage. And as you can see here are the settings that I have. Again, I'm not going to go through these. With ASUS boards, they have the actual SP prediction. Mine is 96, and haven't had any issues. So going through here, let me just kind of back out a little bit here. I'm just going to go down XMP. I pretty much have that set on the default settings. And then here's what I was talking about with the Asus multi-core headset MCE. I have my options set to remove all limits, but limited to 90 degrees. And as you can see here, here are the other options that I have. Auto, let the BIOS optimize, disable. For a lot of people, you probably should use this disable, enforce all the actual limits. I think they said that that was actually better than the Intel profile, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not going to go through, because I don't have any issues with my chip, I'm not going to go through what those all do. Is there's a lot of videos that's out there that's actually going through those. But if you want to see me go through those, definitely let me know down in the comments below. Do you have an enable? So it removes all the limits. By default, it's actually on auto, but that's pretty much kind of like the same thing as remove all limits, the way that the board works. So yeah, it gets a little crazy. Temps get out of hand, power gets out of hand and all that. But I found out that the limited to 90 degrees puts a lot of stuff in check for me. And that's what I use. So backing out of that, we back up a little bit here. If we go down, pretty much everything else is on auto. DRAM frequency is at 7200. The only thing that I changed here was the actual DRAM timing control, and here's where I put in the actual the manual settings. And I've gotten these settings from Billzoid. You know, he's done a lot of video on these, but if you just want to see what my settings are for, I have T-Create 48 gigabyte RAM 7200, and these are the settings that I have that I dialed in to actually tune the RAM, and it's phenomenal. It works perfectly. So just going through these, the memory training algorithms, if you go here, the only thing that I changed in here was the round trip latency. So everything else is on auto. If I keep going down here, these are, again, I got these settings from Billzoid. Yeah, once I did that, I tested it out, ran stress tests and all that different type of stuff, and it worked fine for me. And that is it from that standpoint. Everything else down here was pretty much left alone except this. The actual cache for the 14900K, the ring down band, I put that on disable, and I actually set both of these to 50, that on auto, and that actually leaves the ring cache at 5,000. It's a little trick to get a little bit more performance. Let's see, everything else is on auto, except for the CPU input voltage. That's 1.9. Got that from Billzoid. Let's see. I didn't mess with the actual timers on here. It defaults to 1.4 volts. And going in here, I don't think I changed anything. Even with the, where is it? I know I'm looking over it. I don't see it. But anyways, there's you could be able to change the SA. Did I look over it? Maybe I did. It's probably on the previous, but I didn't change anything here. Everything is on auto. If I go back, here we go. System, CPU system agent voltage. I've played around with this before, but ever since I left this on auto, no issues. So no changes needed there. And that's it for the actual BIOS settings. So let's get back into Windows and check out a couple of games. Okay, all right, y'all. So we're back into Windows 11, and as you can see here, I got my settings back dialed in. I have the power limit maxed out on the RTX 4090. Got the temp limit maxed out, and then I have 250 on the core clock, and then 1,000 on the actual memory clock for the 4090. And as you can see, I'm on the latest drivers for Nvidia. And then the only other thing, and I think I showed this earlier on, but fan curve, I had a fan curve setting here too, so it keeps up with the actual temp of the card. And then over here, we're still, just so you could see the actual Intel Extreme Tuning utility. This is what I use is to overclock the actual 14900K. And right now, it has 2 performance cores to max out at 6.1 gigahertz. The rest of the performance cores at 5.8, and then the efficiency cores at 4.5 gigahertz. Turbo boost, short power max, unlimited and unlimited. Has offset ratios that's here. Temp cutoff limit for the active performance cores is 80 degrees, and then a ratio offset of -1 on those two and disable for the rest. 2 of the actual the cores that go up to 6.1 are at 90 degrees, and the rest of them are disabled when it comes to the temperature cutoff. But it's hard coded in the BIOS for 90 degrees anyway, so there's that. And as you can see, those are the settings there. And let's take a look at the first game up is The Last of Us Part 1. And the reason why I'm going here because it definitely does shader compilation. And with the shader compilation, we'll definitely be able to see what would happen, you know, in a situation where the actual, let's see if I can get the overlay to pop up on the screen. So that's the MSI overlay, and let's just keep an eye on that. And definitely down here at the bottom, what does that say? Building shaders. So as you can see here, 14900K, 86 degrees, 69% usage at 5.677 gigahertz, and then look at the wattage. 283 watts, and this is what I'm talking about with the shader compilation. The GPU is not really being worked right now, which is fine. It's at 132 watts. It's only at 49%, but this is the shader compilation. You know, people was running into particular issues with their CPU being maxed out with the 14900K, and yeah, we had 280 some watts, which is crazy. But when the shader compilation is actually using 7% of the actual CPU, and we're hitting the actual tip limits, but that's why I have it hard coded at 90 degrees. And right now, if we go down here to the shader compilation, it's still only at 30 something percent, so it still has more time to go. And I don't know if anybody was having issues with The Last of Us. Well, with the shader compilation, this is one of the things that you run into where you have a situation where a portion of the GPU is being used. Now, it's not being maxed out, and I'm on a 3440 by 1440p monitor, you know what I'm saying, widescreen, as you can see here, and this is the LG OLED. If you haven't seen this review, definitely make sure you go check that out. But it definitely uses the GPU, not as much as 4K, but it's very close. And so, you know, those are the type of situations that you deal with. And we still got about 46% of the shader compilation. But imagine, and this is a 24-core, 32-thread chip. So a lot of times when you start a game up for the first time, it's building the shaders. And, you know, I know people have, you know, I have a 7800X3D on the AMD side, and this takes a while. And because that chip is only 8 cores, 16 threads. So just keep that in mind, you know, when you're buying stuff. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, you know, but the 7800H3D is not going to run into issues. But still, it's all about quality of life. It's not just about playing games, but it's everything else that you do with your CPU, which is why I use the 14900K and the 4090 in my main rig. So let's come back. I just want to show you this. This is The Last of Us Part 1. Okay, guys, so what we have up next, we're actually going to check out Fortnite, believe it or not. So again, we are, just zoom in here. Hopefully you can be able to see that. I'm using the OC profile that we set up for the 14900K. I talked about that a little bit early on in the video. So we have those dynamics here. If we go over here to MSI Afterburner, you can see the actual overlay. So What we have here, we got the 4090 still overclocked. We have 250 megahertz on the actual clock and 1000 megahertz on the RAM. And we had the power limit stretched our way out 133% and the temp limit up to 88. And we have the actual fan curve set up inside MSI Afterburner. If we go here and just enable user-defined software automatic fan control, that's just the default setting for MSI Afterburner, so it keeps the card cool. And yeah, let's go ahead and check out Fortnite. So Fortnite, and the reason why we're going to use Fortnite is because this was another game that I found out that was actually giving the 14900K some issues per se. So I've read that people were getting like out of memory, like out of video memory messages and stuff like that. From what I've read, I haven't experienced that, but you know, who knows? So we have the CPU overclock through the Intel Extreme utility software, and then we had the GPU overclock. And let's see if we could be able to get some things happening. With that, it has all of the overlay information here that we're going to be using. And let's just check. We can play around for a little bit. Let me see if I can be able to get inside. Again, I'm playing on the 14. Again, I'm playing on my QD OLED ultra wide from Alienware, and playing at 3440 by 1440p. So let's just get into a regular battle royale. I'm playing with I got a remote, just to kind of keep this. Nope. There we go. So I'm playing with a remote, and I'm using my camera to record off screen. And I'm doing that so I can actually be able to just have control over what you're seeing. And I have capturing software where I could be able to do this, but that's a lot of jumping around. And yeah, I'm not gonna do that. So, but what you're gonna see here is hopefully, you know, like I said, I personally haven't ran into any issues with running my system overclocked. But who knows what we may see or jump into. That's the reason why we're testing out here today. Testing out the 1200 watts on the Seasonic PSU, and then you know, 1200 watts going into the 14900K and the RTX 4090. And just so you can see here what the overlay says right here while we're in the lobby. With about 98% on the RTX 4090. Okay, now we're out. But boost clock is 2970, using about 260 watts. In the 14900K, yeah, it's like 252 watts. So yeah, all right, let's see. And as you can see, we're deploying here, and just pay attention to the overlay. And as you can see, we're using about 24% of the 14900K. It's bouncing around between 160 to 190 something watts. If you want to know my system specs, it'll be down in the description below. But the RAM that I have is a T-Create. And I believe that 7200 megahertz. And I actually have that RAM tuned. So, and so far, as you can see, no issues. I'm not getting, and I think one thing I didn't do, didn't mean to do that. But one thing I didn't do was actually show you my settings. So 3440 by 1440p, which is ultra wide. The graphics settings are on high. I have Nvidia DLSS on quality, and everything is on the high preset. Looks like we're averaging about 165 FPS without, making any other changes. CPU is running at about 160 watts, 20%. Yeah, I haven't ran into any issues. But this is so you could definitely just be able to see, like again, I know a lot of people was having issues. I didn't run into any issues with my chip. Not to say that you weren't, but who knows? Maybe I have a golden sample. I don't know. But I do know that currently right now, just with the GPU and CPU, I'm using about 500 watts. So yeah, let's see, 103, that's 350. No, it's about 400 watts. And that's with an ultra wide. So obviously the 4090 could use a lot more. But even at 98%, it's only using 240 watts. If I was playing in 4K, it would definitely be higher, probably about another 100 watts or so. All right, let me know what you think down in the comments below. We'll take a look at another game. Okay, next game that we're going to check out is Call of Duty through Steam. And yeah, let's just see what happens. Overlay should work in this particular game. Shouldn't have any issues. Yep, there we go. Top left-hand corner here. And I can't remember if Call of Duty does share the compilation. I think it does. But I think it just depends. So let's check it out. As you can see right here so far, this is just the intro. And yeah, we'll take a look at some of my settings because I forgot what I was using. And man, we'll go from there. All right, so playing full screen. We got the Alienware QD OLED RTX 4090. The refresh rate on this screen is 175 hertz, 3440 by 1440. Let's go over here to quality. Upscaling is off. VRAM scale target is at 80. I'm not going to change anything. I think I'm on a high preset, I believe. As you can see, here are all the settings. Not going to change anything. Let me go down here. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, I'm not using HDR. Okay, so let's go see if we could be able to jump into the lobby. And do a quick match. So as we can see at the top left-hand corner here, about 46% of the 14900K being used, which is huge because we're at about 200 watts on the CPU, and then the 4090 is at 98, 99. Yeah, so you can see how that's coming along. And now it's time to do the actual real loadout. But yeah, that's a big deal. Okay, so we are definitely in the game. And as you can see here, I just want you to see it up at the left-hand corner here. See what it shows. Average FPS is about 225. Yeah, again, we're using between 30 and 40% of the 14900K. And it's 99% on the RTX 4090. It's about 350 watts. So it's a little bit over 500 watts, between probably about 540, 550 watts that we're using. And yeah, on the actual boost clock on the 14900K, it's at 5,777. And then on the 4090, it's at 2955. All right, so we could play a little bit more. And again, I'm recording this video at 4K 30. That's what my camera does. But yeah, if you're playing on ultra wide, 3440 by 1440p, and if you have some high-end hardware, this is what you could kind of expect just at high settings. I didn't go in and do any optimizing or anything that you could do a lot of times with, inside COD. But averaging 218, yes. at 170, and my screen does 175 hertz. Yep. You can pretty much do whatever it is that you want. But again, no issues. You know, my temps are 14900K. It's at 68, 66, 4090, 66. I got pretty good airflow in my case. And yeah, we're doing good. Okay, guys, man, let me know what you think down in the comments below. What you think about the video? What you think about some of the test results? Some of the information that we was able to go over and share dealing with the BIOS, whether or not you have a 14900K, how you been scared to switch over to Intel. Right now, it's probably, if you haven't switched already, it's probably a bad time to buy any type of CPU right now, unless you just have to do a build. If you have a 14 Gen series, let me know some of the issues, if you had any issues. I haven't had any issues on my end, and I've been able to do overclocking, get good temps. You know, limit the temps on my 14900K, especially, you know, when you have instances where it's fully maxing out the chip and stuff like that. And again, you saw all that. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you want to see more content like this, make sure that you hit like, hit subscribe, and hit the bell so you receive all my notifications. I got a lot more content that's going to be coming up, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.